Framingham State University was recently recognized with the 2024 Higher Education Excellency in Diversity Award from Insight into Diversity magazine. This is the oldest and largest diversity-focused publication in higher education. As a recipient of this annual award, a national honor recognizing U.S. universities and colleges that demonstrate an outstanding commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion. Framingham State University was featured along with other recipients in the 2024 issue of Insight into Diversity magazine. This marks the 7th time that Framingham State University has received this award. In this special episode of the book series, I called the president of Framingham State University. Her commitment to educational and social equity is evidenced throughout her work with universities and schools across the country, in her scholarship and in her service in and with communities throughout her career. I spoke with her earlier this morning. Professor Niemi, I'm happy to have you on the show today. How are you doing?
I'm well, thank you. How are you?
Nice, I'm good. It's been a profound experience learning about Framingham State University and learning about you. I'm very happy because our international student community that is mostly doing applications for undergraduate degree programs, doing applications for scholarships, and particularly I'm talking of young women. They've been so interested in knowing about the colleges that are out there, the opportunities that are out there. So I really figured that talking to somebody like you would be a very, very helpful program, a very helpful episode that most of them will enjoy. So I look forward to an interesting conversation, and thank you so much. And by the way, when do you start the spring semester?
We start on Wednesday.
Oh, you're starting this coming Wednesday?
Yes, yes. So perfect timing.
That's nice. It's a perfect timing. We can get to disseminate this message. Right, I'm sure by Wednesday we would have been able to reach out to quite a lot of them. So I'm sure you're excited of the coming semester. And just to get us started, I want our audience to get to know you. You are a renowned person, yes, here in the United States, but I also want our international community, our international student community to get to know you. So I just want you to briefly introduce yourself, talk about the work that you have been doing, the work that you are currently doing, and what you are looking forward to doing in the future.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for inviting me and for asking me to speak about what I love doing and what I've been doing my whole adult life. And particularly in a program that focuses on women in higher education, because that, if there's a through line to my work in education, it's that and everything that I've done. I was a middle school teacher, actually, which is a K-12, about 7th graders, 12 years old. I taught English and history at the beginning, and I realized I loved it and realized I had bigger questions about teaching. And so I went back to school and got a PhD in education and curriculum and instruction. And along the way, I also was a member of a school board, which in this country is all public schools, and I think private schools have boards that help govern them as well. And that was another piece of education that I wouldn't have traded for anything, as hard as it was, because the community gives you input and you have to learn to listen. And so after I finished my doctoral degree, I then became a professor of education at Nazareth College, now Nazareth University in Rochester, New York. And learned really everything about how one becomes a professor, how you teach well, how you teach undergraduates well, and I taught mostly undergraduates there, and then moved to the University of New Haven, which is another private school in Connecticut, and I ran a department there with an incredible team of people, I moved at that point after another 7 years. I moved to Yale University. And there I stepped out of my role as college professor and department chair to become a leader for their Center for Teaching and Learning. So helping other professors learning how to teach and learn. And that was a wonderful, different piece of my journey. And then I stepped back into my role in a public institution at the University of Maryland Eastern Shore, which is an historically Black college and university in Maryland. I learned, I was the provost there, the chief academic officer. So all the academic things came to me. And then I saw this opportunity here in Framingham. And I felt that any school that was the first of its kind in the country to enroll women and in public school to learn how to be teachers was a school that I wanted to try and belong with. And they hired me, and I am very happily here.
That is awesome. I feel that it's very inspiring for me and for many of the people that follow our programs. It's very inspiring to be interacting with someone who is in an office that you occupy. I'm in higher education. I very much understand what it means to be in such kind of a space. But what I like about you and your profile is that you appeal very much to a population of young women who I think today lack the kind of motivation and inspiration, particularly in the international space. Mm-hmm. They need something that can inspire them to keep on pursuing higher education or to pursue like tertiary careers or like very professional kind of career setting. So motivation is a very big thing. We want a lot of young women to be motivated, and I feel that your story is an important one. So what does it mean to be a university president? Many people out there might not understand. I myself, I don't think I even understand what it means to be a university president. I just want you to talk about that. What does it mean to be president? What do you get to do? What are some of the things that you have achieved so far, and what challenges do you face along the journey of doing your work?
Oh, thank you. That's a big question. And I think you're right that very few people do understand it. I didn't understand it really until I stepped into the role. And it's because it is so multifaceted, and it isn't a one-size-fits all. The stories that we hear in the media, both internationally and nationally, really focus on very high-profile schools. And so what you hear about Harvard or Stanford or the University of Oxford is one kind of presidency. And it is not the kind of presidency that I have, only because we have those are private schools, but also private and public matter tremendously in terms of presidency, but also the ways in which you go about your job, you answer to different people, and your responsibility both internally and externally are different. And you do have responsibility for all of it, and you have responsibility for both pieces of the whole, both internal and external. So what I do on a daily basis is make sure that my university can do its job, which is to help students learn well and get the degrees and the learning that they hope to get here so that they can go out and have thriving, inclusive lives. At a public institution, a public university president's role is to make sure, I like to say that we're a steward of place. We are part of a community. And we were born in 1839 to serve that community, the surrounding community of Framingham, the community of Massachusetts, the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, and in subsequent concentric circles throughout the world. But we start by looking at what does our community need and build together. And that mission has never left us. We are a mission for the public good. We get to serve people who want to learn, and that is our absolute commitment, no matter what era we are in. So I spend a lot of time developing deep relationships with the community, with our legislators, with our community members, both businesses and our public schools, and I help develop networks and help help develop the programs, understanding what the programs are that people need and how we can best serve them pedagogically and with our curriculum. And we really want to make sure that our students come and learn well and then go back out into the community. We're not a research institution. And so even though our professors do a lot of excellent scholarship and that feeds their teaching, our first and foremost job is to teach our students well and be good connectors into the community. So that is what I do on a daily basis, but it takes on many, many forms. The challenges, there are challenges that you don't really understand you'll face until you are sitting in the role. I think certainly I didn't. I didn't understand just how deeply state and federal politics and international politics play out within the role, and that's something that I am learning. When you're new to the state, which I am, I have had to make relationships and help people understand how committed I am to the work here, and that takes a lot of time. University presidents often, our average tenure in a university presidency, at least in this country, is 5 years, which is not nearly enough time to get to learn the community and to really make those relationships. So I hope to stay here for a very long time in order to develop those programs and those connections that our students need. I also funding is a major issue, as it is with most institutions, except for the most wealthy, and there are relatively few of them. We all have to pay attention to the expenses that our students pay, but also how do we take care of our community? How do we make sure our community is well taken care of and compensated fairly for their work? So there's always financial pressures that go in there. And then also challenges of making sure that our students graduate within time. We don't want them here so long that they forget why they're here, or that they end up spending more time or other financial resources than is healthy for them. We want them to learn deeply, but then go out into the world and help others learn as well. So those are some of the challenges there, but I think those would probably also actually, and at the moment, the zeitgeist, the culture at the moment throughout the world, I think, as I've been paying attention to somewhat of the disregard for higher education and its value. That pendulum swings back and forth in terms of how important people see higher education is. Right now, we're at a low point, unfortunately, and I want to make sure your listeners know that how incredibly important higher education is. It's power. It is power, and pure and simple, and I think that's why when the pendulum swings low in terms of not giving higher ed the respect it deserves, I think it's because people are really afraid of the power that comes from being able to think and have skills and being able to help influence other communities. So I'll stop there. I'm sure I could say a lot more, but I'd like to hear what questions my answers raises in you.
Okay, that's interesting. So, these problems are the problems that I can say, like, in many universities, funding is an issue. Yeah. And even a lot of other issues with administration, politics, and all those kinds of issues. I want to talk to you particularly about the aspects that attract students to Framingham State University, particularly the audience that we are particularly targeting. But before we get into that, how have you managed to overcome some of these challenges? And I'm not speaking just in terms of your experiences at Framingham State University, but even with your experiences in other schools. How do you overcome these challenges that you face as a leader in higher education, particularly the ones that you've just been telling me about?
I'm not taking no for an answer, for starters. To be absolutely perseverant in what we're doing. If you believe in the mission, as I do, of our university, then you need to communicate that, and reminding myself of that and the ways in which I go about doing that is critical to overcoming those challenges, because there's always somebody who's going to tell you that you're not as worthy as that next university. And there's as you know, I'm sure, there's a very big competition and a hierarchy people think, universities think that, well, we are more special because, and they're willing too often to tell you that, or to imply that. And you have to believe in the truth of your own university, and the mission it serves. People don't take state universities in this country, state public universities, take them less seriously. And I know that's different around the world, but here, the gold standard is usually Harvard and any of the Ivies. And you learn that a lot of people are going to think that, and that's okay, but you have to be a defender and a spokesperson for your own mission and believe in that, which is a way that I get past a lot of those barriers, and to be well educated in the populations we serve, and not to speak of that as a deficit model, that we have our students deserve and warrant higher education. Many of our students, the students we are born to serve, are the same students who have been traditionally denied education. Women, students of color, students who are first generation, and 50% of our students are now defined by two of those. And 70% of about 65% of our students are women. And over 50% of our students identify as students of color. Same thing with first generation students. And so we must serve them, and keeping that in the forefront of our conversations without ever offering them any kind of apology for the fact that that's what we do is critical to my moving past those barriers, despite what people think about the work that state universities might, the opinions that people might have of state universities.
That is excellent. Thank you so much for that. I should give you a thumbs up, because that's brilliant work. You know, a lot of people get discouraged about applying for higher education, for undergrad, for postgrad degrees, because they feel that it's expensive, they can never afford it, and they also feel that it's a space that they don't belong, particularly if they are people of color, or if they are women or minorities, or people coming from very low income communities. Yeah. Just recently, I feel that I should share with you this good news. So just recently, the high school that I went to, it's located in Zimbabwe. It's called Niemi High School. It's in Maronde. So when I was there, some couple of years ago, I was there in between 2012 and 2013. I noticed that a lot of students did not perform well in school, not because they were not academically gifted, but because they faced a lot of stereotypes about the school that they belonged to. It is a school that was usually criticized. It's still even criticized up until now. There's a saying in my language which goes like, which means that if you send your kid, or if you get your child to this school, nothing is going to come out of that school, or nothing will come out of that kid. There is literally no future for the kid. So wow. It's something that was very demotivating for me. It was demotivating for the students. And in the end, students ended up not performing well, not because they were not good, but because they were facing this stereotype in which they can't approach school with a good attitude. But what I'm happy about, just recently we introduced an award, which is an award that is given to every high school student who scores like the best grades in a mid-year exam. So most of the money we generate from these videos and all that stuff, we get to send it to support those students. One of the students actually scored 13 points for her like final exams for high school. She's now qualifying to apply for university and all that. So this is a profound experience. I'm happy about it. She just shared with me the news that she passed her A-level, and I feel very excited about it. So it's girls like these. It's people like me. It's people like her. It's several other students who are brilliant and are from low-income societies that we want to get these opportunities, that we want to know. We want them to know that there's Framingham State University out there, and there's an opportunity open for you. There's several other universities where you can actually go to. So I want you to talk briefly about Framingham State University and what attracts students to Framingham State, what are the kind of facilities, what are the resources, what are the scholarships, what are the opportunities that if a student is to apply to Framingham State University is going to gain and enjoy?
Oh, well, that's a great question. And thank you for explaining about the power of what you do and how the atmosphere that you've described, the unfortunate atmosphere in the high school that you attended, can be hopefully overcome by the kinds of work that you're doing here and help to change that. We could talk for a long time about that, but I'll answer your question because there's a lot to say about that as well. So Framingham being a state university, we can't specifically award scholarships only to women or only to people of color, but we can give preference to them. And we have many scholarships. Your listeners should know that. In fact, that's something that we've increased tremendously, is the amount of scholarship money that's available, because that's how people get here, and that's how they stay. So it's not just an enticement to come, but how do we help you throughout your time here? So that's the first thing to know, is that there's lots of scholarship support in many ways, and that it's if you're perseverant as well, we can offer a lot, and then to continue to ask, well, what else is there? How else can I be helped? So it's not just with our tuition and fees, but what other supports do we have from a resource standpoint? For example, we have computers that are free, laptops that if you don't have one, we'll give one to you. If you need help with housing, we will help you do that. Oftentimes our scholarships don't cover our housing, but we can help you do that. Same thing with food assistance. Transportation assistance. So all of the things that we know that come with attendance in school are part of the things we pay attention to, because it's not, the tuition and fees are critical, but not enough, necessary, but not sufficient. So that help is there. And then the support in studying. We know that if you haven't been to a university, even if you have, that there are ways about studying and about learning, both inside and outside the classroom, that you want support and help with. So we've got vital resources in mentorship, in tutoring, as well as co-curricular activities, internships. One of my goals is to have paid internships or work experiences for every student. And so those are available and becoming more available with some of the major employers that we have here, so that you can get a taste for the kinds of things you're interested in doing, and certainly at the very least get paid for the kinds of work you're practicing as you learn, as you go along. So we've got that kind of influx of learning by doing as well as a rich student life in ways that in some respects are typical of a college campus. There are certainly clubs and activities, but there are also things to do outside the university within that community I was talking about. So there's lots of richness within the city of Framingham and the Metro West area, the surrounding area in which we live, which is just west of Boston, that has lots and lots of opportunity for exploring what the area has to offer. So there are, and then the majors themselves, the fields of study, there are rich majors that many students combine with minors, with other subfields of study, so that you don't just say have a degree in English, but you also then have a minor in accounting or a minor in sports management. I mean, we have 70 minors. So you can choose from, we have American Sign Language. So you can choose from many different things to combine them to make your learning more personalized than you might expect, more marketable, but also you can follow lots of paths of your interest that really support the growth and development that you have as you're here, because we don't know everything when you come as a student. I certainly didn't as a college student. Don't now either. I'm still learning. And so we want to provide those opportunities for students as they learn here.
That is excellent. Thank you so much for that. I am feeling that I should come to Framingham State University.
Oh, please. We
Maybe
welcome you.
I should come. I should check out the campus. We should do lunch, actually.
I would love that. I would love that.
We should plan about that. I talked to my friend. So my friend, the friend that I stay with at my place, He did his undergrad at Framingham State University.
Oh, wonderful. Okay.
His name is Hope Pombeya. He's from Malawi.
Okay.
Yeah, and there's a significant population of Malawian students who've been to Framingham State. So that's another target audience. We're going to share it a lot with people from Malawi, Zimbabwe, Southern Africa, Africa generally, and other parts of the world, so that they get to know about this. So expect me. I'll come very soon. We'll talk about. I'll make sure that I come before the semester is so busy.
Oh, please, you would be welcome. I would love to host you.
Nice.
And people, we sit. Have you ever been on our campus?
No, I've never.
Okay.
So we just like drove through when we were dropping somebody. There's another Malawian student who just matriculated into Framingham State. So we went to drop him. So that's all I've just passed through.
People tell us that they don't even know we're here, which isn't a good thing. I mean, we sit on top of a hill, as you know, and so people, you can drive right by us and see the sign, but if you don't come and experience the campus, which is very hilly, so you get your exercise in, but it's really beautiful as well. And so it's a place that people are pleasantly surprised when they think, oh my goodness, you're here. And we can't change our geography. I wouldn't want to. It's gorgeous, but we do need to make sure that we can make those connectors, as I said, with the community. And so please come and you can help me do that.
That is awesome. Lastly, I just want us to talk about young women in particular.
Good.
What attracts young women, particularly to Framingham State University?
People don't know that we were actually founded as a women's college.
Oh,
And that's a differentiator because other schools for teachers at that time were founded as colleges for teachers and because teaching was then and is now primarily women, and at the time then very almost exclusively white women, that it just so happened that the schools were all made up of all women, but not in our case. We were a women's college, which I think says something about the dedication to the education of women, particularly in 1839. We also had we had Frederick Douglass's great-great-great-granddaughter here. We had George Washington Carver had relatives here as well. And in fact, it's a proud history of making sure that we had students of color come whenever they could as well, and that we would accept them long before the country decided that it needed to make sure that we offered educational opportunities. So that spirit is still really pervasive here at Framingham. We are there to educate everybody, and in particular, women and people of color. And so our alumni, the spirit of our university is full of accomplished women. One of the most famous is probably Krista McAuliffe, the astronaut who went in space as a teacher. But there are all kinds of women who made a mark around the world as teachers, as nutritionists, as dietitians, and as many other careers that then influenced so many other women. And it gets a little lost right now in the telling, because now a population at universities, at least in this country, and I don't know about around the world, but I'd be curious to know, are primarily young women. And so the conversation now tends to turn towards, well, where are the men? What's wrong with universities that men aren't there? And that's an important point. But I don't want us to get lost, us meaning the university communities or the collective community, that education is power, as I said before. And our young women around the world need to understand that this will help them be powerful in the ways that they think, and in many ways they don't even know, because the perspectives and the skills and the dispositions they end up gaining in education are numerous and untold, and that will help them move. And so not to be dissuaded by the discussion that, well, that thing that the pursuit of education is just not very valuable. That argument is being made, unfortunately, at the time when there are more women, as I said, attending. And I can't help but think that that's not an accident to try and dissuade us from going to school. So come to the university and learn what is there for you, and not to be dissuaded.
That is awesome, Professor Niemi. I'm very excited to have hosted you on this platform. I am looking forward to sharing this content with as many of our international student community as possible. And I hope you have a good day, and I wish you a good spring semester. I look forward to coming to see you in the next couple of days or weeks.
I look forward to it as well. Thank you so much, Anotida, for inviting me. This has been delightful, and I look forward to the work that we can continue to do together.
That is awesome. Thank you so much.